Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And today, the topic is my girlfriend says he's just a friend. As the great Biz Markie song goes, you say he's just a friend. I'm not a singer, folks, obviously. Anyhow, I had to come back on. I did some technical difficulties here on the stream, but we're back on deck. And this is a really, really interesting topic because it comes up a lot where someone's dating someone, someone's seeing someone, someone's married, etc., etc. It goes on and on. And they got a friend. They got a good friend, right? So today I have a story to unpack. It was turned into writemac.com. They paid their $25. And so I'm going to unpack it in the live stream today. I also made a separate video that's not live stream made. So I've actually gone over this story one time, but I thought to myself, I'm going to go over it 2 times because this story is important. This individual spent a lot of time writing it. It's a heartfelt story and it's deep. And there's a lot to unpack here. So I think it would be appreciated by the live stream also. If you have a story you want to share, turn it into writemac.com. And I may unpack it in a live stream or a public video just like this. If you want to book a live coaching session, go to writemac.com. We got 1 hour, 2 hours. If you want to do some hypnosis, really let go of some stuff, that's available. And we can talk on FaceTime or Skype. So there's my commercial. That's done. Someone just asked, how many years have you been doing this? About 4. I would say I'm up to 4 years, I would say. If you go to my YouTube channel, I have about 1,000 videos. I have 900 plus, but some of them are privates. So you can see my work there, the rock and slasher. I've actually seen you in a comment or 2. So today we're going to be talking about when your girlfriend or your boyfriend says he has a friend or they're just a friend and you're suspicious. Happens a lot. First of all, I do believe men can have female friends. There's a large portion of people out there that say, oh no, men cannot have a female friend. You can, especially depending on the kind of person you are and the line of work you're in. If you work with a lot of women, I've been a teacher for years. There's a lot of female teachers that are colleagues that have become friends. Is it more difficult to be friends with someone you're attracted to? It's a choice, right? So you can definitely still be friends with someone you're attracted to, knowing that they have a husband or a wife, or if they're taken. People put these generalizations out there for men and women as rules, and I just saw on Instagram a couple of days ago there was a post with Steve Harvey. If you don't know who that is, he's a comedian. He's had a talk show for years, and he had this post where he basically said, all men can't be friends with women because if they get any kind of opening as far as being able to hook up with that woman, and the men are lying to themselves when they're friends with women because their hidden intention is always to get a shot at hooking up. And I just don't think that's true for all men. I do think it's true for him. And this is what a lot of people do. Someone like himself has a stage. He's famous. So people listen to him a little bit more. And so on that stage, he's suddenly speaking for all men. All men, correction, you. That's your point of view, and that's how you treat relationships with women that are friends. And that's fine. It doesn't have to do with all men. Now, why do people do that? Why do people do that, though? Well, all men. If you ever hear someone go, all women, all men, they're projecting a situation that happened to them or their own belief, and it makes them feel better to explain it in a way where they're convinced that everyone else thinks like they do. So my point is, your boyfriend or your girlfriend is capable of having an opposite sex friend. Now, it's your duty in the relationship. Great, yeah, blanket statements. to set your own boundaries. See, this is the problem. Everyone goes, oh, I would never do that, says you. You got to be true to yourself, okay? There's people that can be in relationships and have no problem with their partner having a friend that's a woman or even flirting. That's their prerogative. But you need to set it up front. And this story, this is a deep story, man. Really deep story. And I'm going to get into it in a minute. Like I said, I'm going to see if we get a couple more people to start, because I like to usually have 10 on deck, so you at least get to hear the story from the start. I wasn't aware that I saw that I don't follow Steve Harvey, so I didn't know he didn't have a good marriage. But it's ironic, like these guys like Dr. Phil or some of these people that have stages, they have problems in their own relationships. Nobody has it all figured out when it comes to this game. MC, morning. Mac, you helped me a lot. You rock. Long live Mac. Right on, rockin' slasher. So we got 8 on deck, 2 likes. I appreciate you. If you have donations, those are always welcome. If you have likes, those are welcome. If not, it's all good in the hood. So let's get into this story here. Hi, Mac. I'm so glad I found your channel. I'll try to be brief, but as detailed as possible with my story. I like that. And if you write your story, make sure that you write the details. I don't mind if the story's long, especially if you paid your $25. Get your money's worth. Just make sure the story has some continuity and I can follow it. Edit the story so that I can, there's complete sentences and whatnot. But if it's long, detailed, but it makes sense, it's all good. This is actually my first serious relationship, but not my girlfriend's. We've been together for 3.5 years and lived together for 3.5 years. We've been together for 3.5 years and lived together for 3 years. Good way to start. Actually, we met through Tinder, and as soon as we met, we fell madly in love with each other since day one. Well, that's a good way to start. We literally started seeing each other almost daily and talking nonstop. She was 19 and I was 23 at the time. Even though things started quickly, we tried to take things slowly. We didn't hook up until about 3 months after we started dating. I said this when I looked at this story before. That's a good thing. Take your time. It's a long-term relationship. You're young. If those are your values and morals for you at the time, 3 months to wait, good for you, man. To give you some perspective, she came from a conflicting home since she was a child with very controlling parents. So just realize down the road, being that she's in her early 20s, that's probably going to surface in the relationship. She told me a lot about her background, and her crucial aspect of that is that her dad is an abusive narcissist who at the time she was living with him. So one day I noticed she got into a bad argument with him, and she showed me some of the messages he sent her where he was calling her a slut and very mean things. Once I saw that, I told her she shouldn't tolerate that from him anymore, anyone, not even her dad. So I convinced her to move out, and she came to my place to live with me, my dad, my brother, and I come from a peaceful home. So right there, you're leading with good intentions. You feel like it's the right thing to do. It's a different ball game when you live together. This is your first relationship. But you know what? I think what you did in this moment was a good thing. I mean, what's the alternative, right? This is your girlfriend at the time. You live in a peaceful home. Okay. Let's see where it goes. At first, we talked about it being temporary, but of course, she just stayed with me up until this point. We were both scared since we didn't know each other very well. But thanks to God, living together only made our bond and love stronger with time. She had a great relationship with my dad, as I feel it filled the void for her narcissistic dad. One thing I will say that you wouldn't know is that at some point it's going to bubble up or surface up. And I do believe if someone has a narcissistic parent, that it's most likely possible, especially if someone's in their early 20s, they're going to have some of those characteristics built into them too. Because there's a lot of mirroring going on with your parents, even if they don't like the way they treat you. You know, growing up, my father was highly impatient. Highly impatient. He would erupt out of nowhere for the smallest thing. Looking back, it had a lot to do with my dad having a job where he was exhausted and he drank too much. When I got older, I didn't notice this. I never liked it about my dad. I was impatient too. And I think I picked it up, just like that's how a man acts sometimes. And so when someone has an abusive or narcissistic parent, even though they hate it, there's a good chance, if they haven't seen therapy yet or anything like that, that they might pick up some of those characteristics in certain situations. Of course, we eventually talked about getting married. Both of our families got involved, and we were literally having a married couple lifestyle, which I really enjoyed. Our communication was always amazing. We talked every single day and really felt exclusive to each other, a feeling that I had never experienced before, nor her. She told me that even though she already had relationships in the past, I was completely on a different level compared to them. Well, that's how it should start. That's how it should go when you're in love. At the time we met, she was still in university because of her dad, and once we moved in together, she left school. We were unsure of what she wanted in her life. We were unsure of what she wanted in her life. That should be her decision, not we. And I helped her grow her self-esteem by telling her to pursue her dreams. I told her she was good at photography and that she was an artist, and made her discover that graphic design was interesting to her. She eventually started to practice by herself and got a job as a graphic designer. Well, that's great. You supported her. You helped her grow. I don't see anything wrong with it. I mean, give yourself a pat on the back. Kudos. That is her actual profession now. She also helped me a lot grow in many areas of my life, and felt that the relationship encouraged me to be a better person, to see the areas where I was lacking, like finances specifically. I also got my own thing going on. I'm a professional drummer with a successful metal band in my country, which I don't think he'll mind saying, Guatemala, which this is the first time I think I've had a client from there. But I actually, living in Phuket, Thailand, I have two people that spent a lot of time in Guatemala that are Americans. One lady lived there for 5 years. I was playing shows at the time and being very active with it. Well, that's cool, man. The fact that you're a professional drummer in a successful metal band in your early 20s, man, there's a lot of temptation there probably. I was also working a decent job that helped me help her, because she moved in with me. She literally had nothing. I definitely feel like I found my soulmate. It was always a mutual feeling. Remember that soulmates should be spelled with an S, as in there can be more than one in your life. She shared very similar points of view, values, dreams, music, tastes, and so on. I can't really count the number of great experiences we shared together. She was even on my side back in 2020 when my dad passed away due to COVID in her arms. Sorry to read that. My condolences to you and your family. My old man truly loved her. We both literally were his caregiver while being infected too. All of these memories really form a strong bond between us. Absolutely. It's deep, man. One important thing I need to mention is that since the beginning of the relationship, she was very clear about her mental health issues. That's a big issue these days, huh? Seems like there's a lot of people that's a prerequisite to the relationship. At first, she told me she struggled with depression from time to time, but since then she moved in with me. We had a peaceful environment. Our episodes were almost gone at first. Eventually, with the honeymoon phase fading out with time, of course, we started to argue a little more often, but never anything out of the normal. I always felt we could resolve issues with ease. After some time, she went to therapy, and 2 different doctors diagnosed her with borderline personality disorder, but then she stopped therapy. Well, this is what I always say, is that any of these mental health issues, if you haven't had them yourself, if you haven't experienced them with family members or friends, this is gonna be foreign ground for you. So even if you put your best foot forward, you're gonna get frustrated. You're gonna be surprised by their actions. It's even though you have good intentions in helping them, it's not really your place. And if she quit therapy, look out, because it's gonna become an issue probably, especially in her early 20s, because she's probably still battling a lot of that. We also founded our own business in 2020, which is now in 2021 is starting to generate sales for us, and we're doing great. And then he titles the next part, capital letters, The Breakup. Dun dun. Maybe turn off the music for that. Things really started to get rocky during this year. We both got so caught up in the relationship, and due to COVID, we mostly stayed home all the time. And this creates animosity and annoyance and irritability in the relationship. That's me talking. So anytime you have something where you stay in a house too long together, whether you're friends, family, colleagues, roommates, beyond just lovers and partners, you're going to not like that person from time to time. Too much of anything makes you an addict, right? Too much of anything isn't good. And too much of hanging out indoors all day without being able to go outside is not good. From my personal perspective, I can say we both began getting too codependent on each other, and being so caught up made us kind of forget about our social lives with friends. We are seeing friends from time to time, but it got super infrequent like I used to be before we met. This is very common in relationships where you live with your girlfriend or partner, so don't feel like you did something completely wrong here. This is you learning what you wouldn't do again, but the circumstances of COVID kind of make it that way, right? So you're doing the best you can, bud. This made us getting into arguments more frequently, and our codependent behaviors began popping up more and more. I can admit that I began to get more anxious in the relationship, making me outraged from time to time, manipulating her by saying that if I lost her, everything would be gone. That's pretty traumatic. I began having this fear about losing her more often, but really didn't notice or pay much attention to it. She also says she was obsessed with me and was being codependent in her own way. A statement like, if I lost her, everything would be gone. I mean, where's that coming from? Is that just to win an argument? Sometimes when you're young, you say extreme things to win the argument. Why would you say something like that would be my question if we were in a live coaching session. All this happened, but I never actually imagined it would be something to actually tear down the relationship to this point. A lot of times breakups aren't one thing, they're a culmination. And it sounds like this is the beginning of the culmination of things. Then one time around March, we went on a family trip with her family where her brother and her brother's best friend went too. She had years of not talking to him, and this trip made them bond together again. We also met her brother's best friend. He said he'll just call him, I don't know if this is the person's actual name, so I'm going to change the name to Joe. We also met her brother's best friend, Joe, which we got along with pretty good too. This got to a point where after the trip, we invited them both to our place almost every weekend. I felt it was awesome because we got along and because we were partying together. When I say partying, I really mean it. Joe is the typical guy who is very social, has money, loves drinking high-quality alcohol. He began buying us drinks and bringing us lots of bottles so we could party every weekend. I guess partying a lot made my girlfriend to be emotionally vulnerable. I guess means I don't know. We were also taking some drugs not long after our dog died. This made her depressed again. Partying with alcohol, and if this guy Joe is single, is not good, right? Obviously the brother, but I mean the brother's friends, and this guy Joe doesn't have his own girlfriend or girl with him. No bueno. This is not good. You don't want to put yourself in these kinds of situations. You're already giving her an out. Oh, maybe she was emotionally vulnerable. If your girlfriend's attractive and good looking and this guy Joe doesn't have anyone, he's gonna hit on her probably. Long story and you're drinking, so it's gonna make it even worse. Long story short, it got to a point where I told her I was concerned about our our health, because it was too much. During this time, Joe and my girlfriend began talking to each other frequently, and I noticed it. At first, it didn't bother me, but slowly as I noticed it was more and more, then I began getting jealous about it. Well, that's your intuition saying this isn't right. He invited her to the gym. This is where that's a huge no-no, okay? This is your exclusive girlfriend of years. You introduced yourself, boyfriend, girlfriend, and this dude asks her to go to the gym with him? Hell no. By the way, your girlfriend should not even entertain it. She shouldn't say, like, you don't go to the gym as friends with you know what I'm saying? No. Then involved her in a business. They were texting each other all the time. She was always direct and clear with me by saying he was only her friend and that I shouldn't worry at all. No. This is one of those things. This is one of those things where she's got to step up and realize and not be naive, or deep down she likes the attention. I don't know what it is. But this guy, yeah, he's a snake in the grass for sure. Anyway, one time I got back home and had a serious talk with her about the subject because I felt like Joe was definitely into her and I could notice it. That day she told me I was right about her not setting boundaries. She started to cry and told me that definitely there wasn't anything going on between them, but she was lacking those boundaries. So I asked her not to talk to him too much, and she told me she would cut off communication with him. That same day, I checked her phone and found some messages of him telling her, I like you a lot, but she didn't respond to it. We got into an argument. I exploded that day. I even threw a cup off the wall and completely went mad, but never disrespecting her. She told me that she didn't want to tell me about it. Joe telling her he liked her because she felt it wasn't necessary, as she wasn't saying anything back or feeling anything for him. So right here, she's saying, well, I don't like them. I don't like him. But what do you think she's getting from this? She's getting attention, right? She's not saying, look, because, if a woman's in a good relationship, she's gonna instantly, what she should have done maybe was go, yeah, I'll go to the gym with you, and then took you with her and brought her boyfriend. I've talked about this before. I was in a situation, very attractive girlfriend, would get hit on at her job a lot. This guy that she worked with said, oh, we need to meet to coffee to talk about this. And she goes, I want you to come with me to this meeting. I said, why? She goes, because I know this guy likes me and I want to make him aware that I have a boyfriend. That's a woman saying, I'm not even going to let this get to a point where there's some confusion. She told me, focus on what I'm saying back to him. I'm not into him at all. He's my brother's best friend. I'm putting him on my limits. I would never be with somebody else rather than you, nor disrespect you. She's actually disrespecting you by having secret text. Once the guy says, I like you a lot, invites you to the gym, it's pretty clear. I completely love you. I knew this would be a problem. It seems worse than it is. The way you've been reacting lately scares me, and I knew that anyway, if I told you, this would have been a big problem, so I was scared. She's got to ask herself, what if you were doing the same thing? During this time, she also asked for a break in the relationship, which her mom confirmed to me that she was thinking to do it for a long time before we met this guy. No matter how close you are to someone's mom, you shouldn't be getting information from them. It just ends up, it's conflicting, it's biased, and if your partner ends up finding out, they get really pissed off. So going and getting information about who you're with is a red flag for you, saying, wow, how far have we fallen apart? Probably what happens is once someone starts talking to a quote unquote friend and you start getting insecure about it, you overcompensate and create a lot of unattractive events. So these ideas of where you lost your cool and you got upset about these things, it's pushed her away even more. That being said, there's been a reason you're so upset. Any guy that has some kind of dignity and pride would not accept his girlfriend being okay with a guy that's texting her off and on, doing a business with her, inviting her out for stuff, and then saying, I have my boundaries up, but we can still text each other. Once she finds out that he likes her a lot, it's dust. That's where it's got to be. In order to heal the codependent behaviors that we were both displaying, it was all casually at the same time. After this, I really didn't want to take a break with her, but then agreed to do it. She told me she wanted to live alone for 2 months and then come back together because from her perspective, she always felt to be dependent on somebody like her dad and then with me once we met. I kind of played a role as a parent to her as well because I was literally taking care of her on everything. So she said the break would help her be comfortable being alone and more independent once she came back to the relationship, which I thought was completely valid and understandable. Well, it's a pretty big sacrifice on your part to say all those things and be so understanding. Anyway, she started looking for apartments. I helped her with doing that. Then she came up with the story that she had found this great place nearby my house, which was amazing because it was a Colombian woman who traveled a lot and she was renting a room. But due to the fact she was traveling all the time, pretty much the apartment was all for her since the woman only came once in a while. I thought that was awesome, so I helped her move out of her place. We had a great time, hooked up, had dinner for a few days, and said goodbye feeling positive about the break. Now, let me first say, I don't like breaks in long-term relationships. They can be confusing. People interpret what that means conveniently at different times, such as, well, we were on a break, I can hook up with other people. It's not a good position to be in with a long-term partner. Everything went downhill the last day she asked me to bring her stuff. She had forgotten at her place. I went with her and again said goodbye, but before I left, she told me that her brother was on the way to meet her and hang out. Of course, I didn't want to interfere, so I told her I was leaving soon. But once I was getting out of my place, the guard of the building stopped and told me, "Hey, sir, I don't want to cause problems or misunderstandings, but I wanted to ask you because I've seen you're the new tenant's partner, right? I've seen another guy coming with her too, and I wasn't sure who should I let in, just for you to know." I'm going to just pause for a moment. Not only do you find out she's seeing some other guy, but the guard at the gate told you? I instantly knew it was Joe because the guard described his car and felt so confused about it. So I called her when I was getting out of the building and told her about it. She told me she wasn't sure what was going on and that she'd call me in a bit. A little after that, she called me and said, "Look, I don't want to lie anymore. I must confess, Joe's family owns this apartment and I lied to you about it because I was simply looking after myself." I was looking after myself. So she put herself first. She lied. She didn't just lie, but she creatively lied. It's a Colombia woman who travels a lot. This is beyond a red flag. Would this be narcissistic behavior? He offered me a great deal at a comfortable place rather than me going to a family or friend's place. I bet he gave it to her for free. And I knew if I told you the truth about it, you were going to get hysterical. And yes, he was coming over to chat to have a few drinks. There's about 3 swords in the back thrown right there. And yes, he was coming over to chat and have a few drinks. You're going to have drinks with this guy too? I literally felt betrayed. Literally, you were betrayed, my friend, by her since she lied to me about this all the time. She didn't just lie. She planned to carry out the lie. She lied creatively. Isn't it amazing something like the guard drops the dime on the situation? Knowing how seriously jealous I was and that I knew that the guy was into her, Since then, I began and here's another thing. She says, and I knew if I told you the truth about it, you were going to get hysterical. So she's making you, like using something like hysterical, she's making you the idiot. Like, oh, I couldn't tell you the truth because you got hysterical. Wow, that's a convenient way to do this. It's completely selfish. Since then, I began acting. Okay, so I literally felt betrayed. She lied to me about it, knowing how seriously jealous I was and that I knew the guy was into her. Since then, I began acting needy and calling her like crazy for her to give me explanations about why she acted the way she did. Here's the thing. No answer is going to feel good. She already split you down the middle and threw salt in the wound. You want something that makes you feel better, but anything you get from her is just going to make you feel worse. Think about that. All right? A lot of times it's like, I want more explanation. I want more explanation. It's not going to make you feel better. I think this is crystal clear here. She lied to you. She wanted a break. She had this. She's living at another guy's place. She's having drinks with him as you leave. The guard at the apartment explains that there's another man coming in and out of the apartment. He just wants to know who he should let in and who he should not let in. There's a lot of puzzle pieces here. There's a lot of smoke, and I do believe there's fire, my friend. So get out. All of this just began pushing her away and making her act distant with me. The weeks passed by. We kept texting. I tried to keep it cool. Why would you feel like you want to keep it cool? That is a serious lie. There's things that you can forgive. There's things that you can look past. It's very difficult to forget, but there's things that you can forgive. This is going to be one that would linger for years if you got back with her. I tried to keep it cool all the time until one day she told me Joe was moving in with her to be her roommate. Now think about this. If your brother, your cousin, your uncle sent you this story about their partner, what would you tell them? See, everyone that's in the live stream right now or watching this right now, they're going, oh, man. You got to keep in mind, this guy's madly in love with someone he's been with 3 years. This is the first love of his life. This isn't easy. But this is why you write out your story and put all the puzzle pieces out. So hopefully, because I get people sometimes, wow, man, it was therapeutic just to write my story out. I never did that before. She promises nothing was going on between them, that she's just a friend, that she loved more than no one else in the world, but I just couldn't bear with the idea. One day I was begging her to come back, and she was overwhelmed, crying a lot. Suddenly, out of the blue, she texted me and broke up with me. Well, I hate to break it to you. She was at the back door. You just had to open it up for her. And guess what? She just didn't have the courage to do it. And she was looking for you to be the bad guy. So you being hysterical, you crying, you accusing her of this. Now you're thinking, oh, I could have done things differently. You could have broke up with her 2 moves before this. It was completely unexpected. She told me that I pressured her. See, here we go. This is the punchline, folks. This is why you need to write out your story, right? She told me that I pressured her too much and that it wasn't the right moment to talk and that we should have waited until tomorrow. So you're the bad guy here. You did something wrong to her, when in reality, she just wanted a break. She lied that she's living in some other guy's apartment who was extremely clear that he liked her. Now the guy's moving in. Right? What else do you want? Case closed. Maybe she's got some narcissistic qualities that you're not looking into. By the way, this guy, Joe, he's just being who he is, right? Right? I do commend you for the fact that you're not blaming this guy, right? Because she's entertaining all this. Right after this, we talked the next day and agreed not to break up and just to simply trust each other and respect the break in order to get things cleared out. You can't have a relationship and your girl's roommating with a guy that has conveyed feelings to her. Right? I mean, that's just, you can't do that, man. But then a few days later, I got to log into her IG account because she left the credentials saved on my phone, and I found out that they had their chat on vanish mode. Oh, I'm so surprised, which seemed weird at first, but didn't pay much attention. The next day, I wake up, I get some notifications from Brad messaging and her and telling her, hey, I like you a lot. Are you alone? Come over to my room. I panicked, went crazy because for me, that was live proof of her cheating again. Here's what's really interesting about this, right? You got the guard that drops the dime. She's living with this guy. Now you get probably the biggest piece of proof that something's going on. I've never found anything from her to him, only from him to her. And why is that? She's clever. She created a storybook lie of where she was moving and why. I called her brother afterwards, her mom, and told them about what was going on. This is a big no-no. It's desperate, it's needy, it's extremely weak. And even if the mom and the brother are on your side, do you think she respects you for that? People do it a lot, by the way. But calling the brother and the mom and trying to get them on your team and making them look bad? When she found out, she told me that she wasn't doing anything wrong and that I was an abusive person. Here we go again. Here we go again. If I could circle and redline this part, I was an abusive person because I was intruding on her personal stuff. So she turned the blame on me. Who does that? Who does that, folks? Takes zero responsibility, turns the blame on you. She told me the same thing. It's him, it's not me. I don't like him at all. If you wouldn't have found out about all of this, there wouldn't be any problems at all. We broke up because of this. We met later on that day and we kissed, cried together, and she promised me again that she loved me and that she really wasn't doing anything wrong. Here's the thing. There's a possibility that she's catpawing this guy and, you know, they never hooked up. Let's just say that's best case scenario. That they really are roommates. That she really doesn't have feelings for the guy. But she's still entertaining. She's still hanging out with the guy and having a few drinks. She's still upset that if you wouldn't have found out about all this, there wouldn't be any problems. You did find out. And here's the thing, you must have a little guardian angel in the world of relationships, because that guard that dropped the dime, that should have been enough right there. Here's the thing, I get it. I get it. You know, a lot of people can sit in my chair, you can sit in the live stream, you can be a spectator in the cheap seats, right? And everyone could be eating popcorn, watching this show and going, wow, why doesn't this guy just leave? He loves her. I get it. But I hope by reading this story right now that you get a different perspective. And I would encourage you to book a live coaching session. If you spend the $25, you get $25 off a coaching session. I mean, because you need to unpack this further. This isn't going to be easy, but guess what? It's curtains, my friend. It's curtains. Because even if you get back with this woman, you don't trust her. And she's okay with lying. She's even said, if you didn't find out, we wouldn't have any problems. Like, I would have continued to lie to you if you didn't find out, and then we could be okay. We broke up because of this. We met up later on that day and we kissed, cried together, and she promised me again that she loved me and that she really wasn't doing anything wrong. That him moving on with her was something just temporary, and she never measured how bad the situation could turn. She apologized for making me go through it, but also told me that she was feeling caged with me and that she would always do what she feels is best for her. Again, great statement. She will always do what's best for her, and she always has. She told me she didn't want to lose me, and so this is about her not losing something, and that we will still needed time apart to come back together. So this is in her frame. This is what we need to do. This is what I want you to do. And you're basically like, what? Okay. All the while, who's wrong? Who did the bad deeds? Who lied? Who hasn't even fucking apologized yet? I haven't even heard, I think I've heard a couple sorries mixed in with crying. I haven't heard like a full-on accountability statement here yet. You cage me up, you pressure me, you did this, you did that. Take a look in the mirror, please. Anyway, the same day when I came back home, I broke up with her again because I told her that even though I trusted her, I think that's a false statement. I find that hard to believe that you trust her at this point. I simply didn't feel it was right for her to be living together with that guy. I simply didn't feel it was right. It's more than simple. And that if she wanted to get back together, she would have to move out from that apartment and fix things with me. She told me she would move out by August because she had already prepaid for the rent. I don't even believe she's paying the rent. A little afterwards, her brother and her mom both confirmed to me that she was indeed looking for other apartments to move out. Question is, do you really think this is fixable? Do you really think this is fixable? So one side of me wants to trust her because I think I know her and her values. She would always be faithful to me because that means being faithful with herself. Again, where there's smoke, there's fire, my friend. Who knows if she's not seeing this guy, but there's a lot of arrows pointing that way. I understand she did this just for her convenience, but also one part of me feels betrayed. You have been betrayed. She lied to you, and a guard at the gate told you she was seeing another guy regularly. Think about that. And then she was upset that you found out because it ruined everything. All the while, this guy, Joe, you've known his intentions from the get-go. If this guy, and she knows that he likes her, and they're spending regular time together, people believe what they want to believe. I'll tell you this. You don't want to know anymore. But do you really want to continue on with this relationship? And I'd ask this. Ask yourself this. What would make this work? What would fix it? Because I don't think her moving out would fix it. She would have to be accountable for everything she did. And even then, your relationship will be more questionable. You'll be questioning a lot of things she does. And by the way, you think this guy Joe's going to fall out of the picture? Why hasn't she blocked him yet? Also believes she could have, so he writes on, but also one part of me feels betrayed. Also believes she could have cheated on me. It's very confusing. And I'm going to say this. It's possible she didn't. It's possible she didn't. But I'll tell you what, there's so much evidence pointing to the fact that it's most likely that she did. How do you let that go? And you don't believe her. Anyway, I blocked her from all my social media and even text. She told me she wants to rethink everything and that she is unsure, but she definitely loves me. So everything is about, well, let me think about it. Maybe we'll get back together. I just want to take a break. I want to get my own apartment. I love you. I don't want to lose you. I haven't heard like, I fucked up. I haven't heard, I should have never entertained living with Joe before. I haven't heard any of that. Even before I blocked her, she texted me once, I love you, have a nice day. That's just a reach out to see if you still have feelings for her. So I don't know what to expect because I'm deeply in love with her. I get it. I'd suggest you do a live coaching session. I will work on myself during this breakup time, but I still think all the time about her. We never had any issues until this happened. Well, it's good until it's not good. That's how it always is. We also are having some direct communication through a group chat and her mom because we still have to handle business-related stuff. I really want to repair things. I would encourage you not to get information from the mom or brother too much. I don't know. My gut tells me she didn't cheat, nor anybody in her family thinks she did. Well, I mean, her family's always going to have her back, okay? So that's a highly biased source, right? I just feel she was vulnerable and confused with all this shit going on. Well, that's you validating bad behavior, okay? People can make mistakes. You can forgive people for mistakes in relationships. You can understand where they're coming from. In this particular case, this is a series of similar mistakes with one guy. It's extremely fishy. And you still don't feel like you know the truth. And by the way, do you really want to know the truth? Because to me, I would tell you to go into no contact right now and stop making this, if you want to come back to me, this is fixable, but you have to do this. And really think and sit on your feelings for a little bit. And really think, can I overcome these lies? Can I overcome what I discovered here? You need time alone for you. You need to be taking some long walks, some hikes in the mountains. You need to be taking some alone time to figure out what it is you really want to do. Like I said, let's do a live coaching because I think it would help you a lot. Doesn't mean I'm going to get her back for you. Doesn't mean I'm going to take the hurt away. But we need to unpack this a little further. You got a lot to vomit out here. And by the way, I have a shit ton of compassion for you. I have a lot of compassion for you because I don't think this is your first love. You've been together 3+ years. You've had a really good relationship. And then this hammer gets dropped on you. Let me tell you something else. It's not uncommon. People in their early 20s, you've heard me say this before, Michael, Andrew, they usually don't stay together forever. It's not your grandma and grandpa's relationship. People get curious. There's temptation. And that might be the case with what happened with your girl right here. She got curious. She kept entertaining it. Right? She knows the guy likes her. She lives in his apartment. Right? That being said, what I would tell you is stay the hell off social media. Don't investigate this other dude anymore and catch your breath. Catch your breath and really get some time alone with your family. Stop contacting her mom and her brother about the situation. Whatever's business related, keep it business and see if you can put an end to that. And I'll add this to you, and this might surprise you. This might really surprise you. If you pull away from her, if you cut off all contact, and you stop saying, hey, if you want to come back, or you stop being needy and clingy, if you're able to do this for like a good 3 weeks, month, 2 months, she's probably going to come back to you, a person like this. And I'm going to tell you this candidly, honestly, I don't know if it's the best thing for you. You're a drummer in a metal band. You seem like the way you wrote this story, you seem very mature for your age. You're taking accountability. You're realizing some different things here. This individual has mental issues, right? She's not on the same playing field for you on morals and values. That's been established. If you get back with this individual, I don't think they're ready to have the kind of relationship you want. So give yourself some more time off. In the process, you know, like you said, do your band thing, get into exercise, work on yourself. You know, these are all the easy things to say, but not easy things to do. Give yourself a good month away from this woman. Let the smoke clear and see how you feel. But if you keep looking for new answers and new ways to look at this, any ways you slice or dice this, right? It's going to be hard to let go of the fact of what was done here with someone you trust a lot. I hope that helps you. If anyone else has a story they want to share, and I want to thank you for writing your story so detailed and sharing this on the show. Anyone else that has a story they want to share, send it into writemac.com. All right, let me get into the live stream. I got probably about 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes till my next call. If you guys want to check out my new website, writemac.com, tell me what you think. I even got book notes on there, so that's something added that wasn't there before. I got about 15 or 16 of my favorite books, and I've compiled some notes from those books through various website channels. So let's get into the live stream here. Did the 23-year-old do things that maintain increased attraction, or was the white knight type? It sounds like it wasn't the white knight type. I wouldn't agree with that. Mental health issues, well, at least she doesn't deny it. Very sad with the father passing, I agree. BPD, okay, well, that's a lot to deal with a guy that age. I think that's one of those things people overlook when their partner has one of these things like BPD or extreme depression or anxiety, and you haven't dealt with it before, and you're kind of like, oh, I'm going to be understanding of this. It's not that simple, and relationships are already difficult enough. Of course, there was a breakup, codependent too, never a good thing. Yes, MC says, yes, bring the boyfriend along. I remember, like I said, when my girlfriend first did that, I never had a girlfriend do that. She's like, I want you to come with me. And the guy was meek as hell when I was there, too. He was just kind of like, oh, hey, what's up? He knew what was up. Breaking the relationship usually means there will be a new guy entering fairly soon. Back burner. Honestly, yes, just a breakup and then start looking for someone new. This is such a common story. I don't know if it's common. There's a lot of twists and turns here. Eduardo Martinez, how are you, my friend? MC is a woman, and she says, don't go back. Like I said, if you pull completely away from someone like this, they will come back. Because it's always been in her favor. She always thinks you're going to be there. This guy needs to accept that I'm not going to say he's a beta. That's a serious lie. That the takeaway here is that he's young and can learn from this. Yep, the girl is not a teenager, so by this age, it's unlikely that she will ever be in a stable relationship. Eve says, that relationship is obviously not working, extremely unhelpful. What goes around comes around. That's true. What goes around comes around is similar to what I believe in karma. He certainly deserves it, but he needs to educate himself on relationship dynamics. I've never heard that term before. You're making me caged. Men and women can't be friends, says the great Michael Andrew. Even though he trusted her, this is getting worse. One always ends up liking the other whether or not they accept or confess it. Pain is undeniable, but suffering is a choice. Good point, Eve. This is not fixable, hard to let go of. Hard to let it go, but you got to, my dude. If you draw it, you would never sign up for that. Joe might be the next victim. Tell me I'm wrong, but the minute anything gets close to this situation, it's not worth it at all. What do you mean this situation? Emotions make us colorblind. Red flags, I agree. Not uncommon at all. This not the 60s anymore, my point. We are playing a different game. You know, what's really interesting about that is that, you know, a lot of our psychology and stuff from Freud, a lot of the stuff that's been, you know, studies and research shows, a lot of these things about human behavior, people's, you know, we're in the 21st century and the world is so different with the internet and social media now. So different. So a lot of the things you think apply. I don't think we're dealing with the same species of people. I think he needs more than 1 month no contact. Hope the Guatemala guy can proper understand and move forward. He's young. He's bound to get better if he accepts the truth. What's up, Petty Betty? You missed the story, hun. Sorry. You're late to the party. It's a pretty intense story, if I might not say myself. It's very brave to share that story. All right, folks, any closing questions? That was a nice little hour session here. I got a coaching session in 20 minutes. 15 on deck, 4 likes. Of course, everyone comes on at the end. But I'm open to any questions. If you have questions about your current relationship, what's going on, drop it. Drop one. I know that some people, when I read the stories, are like, can I ask a question? Go for it. Abundance is the key here. Happily single now. Fighting losing battles is not ideal. Hard to let go to a bad situation. Once you do, it's glorious. I love the word glorious. Michael Andrew, definitely email me. You always got a free line to me, bud. Let's link up. Yep, for sure. Send me an email. Let me know how you're doing. If you want to get on a live stream again, let's do it. Can you have another breakup story tomorrow or Monday? Roller Girl, you've been on the whole time. I think you should move on. I mean, when you read a story like that, it seems obvious, right? And this is the beauty of writing out the story. I think because if you think about it, you never lay out all the pieces sequentially unless you write out your story. And what I do is not meant to make you look, oh man, this guy's beta or this guy's this. It's for you to look at these situations and see what's been done. But also, I would like to add, it's tough because we believe what we want to believe. We believe what we want to believe. And being entangled with love is tough, man. It's really, really tough. And it's always hindsight 2020. You can connect the dots, as Steve Jobs used to say. And you can look back and you can see the red flags and you can see the different things. And that's what the story does for you. But sometimes you gotta embrace that you're doing the right thing when you're in no contact or you're moving forward and you're hurting really bad. That's actually part of the process. That there's not and getting back with them or talking to them or getting an inkling or a feeling that you might get back together, it really takes you laying off your heart for a little while. And the longer you're together, the more the intense feelings were. Give yourself, especially in this particular situation, give yourself some time to just be away from this person. My ex gaslighted me and now contacts me often. I just ignore him. I'm at peace now. Life is nicer. Oh, I had a great live coaching session last night with a client that it's really interesting now talking to some people that I've talked to for years. And I don't talk to them every week like a psychoanalyst or a therapist like that. They kind of pop their head in the door and they have something come up and they're like, hey, can I talk? Can we set something up? Especially if it's a past client, I'll send you an invoice and I'll say if I can talk to you tonight or if I have time. That's the great thing about doing this from your home. I can say, like last night, I'm like, I can meet you at 7 p.m. tonight. That's not on the website, but for someone that's a former client, yeah, I can talk to you. I got the time. And, seeing the series and events that has gone on with this woman's ex is just amazing. I'm going to ask her if I could, she hasn't written out a full story, but I'm going to ask if I can write this out and share it with you guys because it's just an amazing roller coaster. Absolutely shocking. But it's interesting, MC, what it sounds like with that ex, you've gotten to a point where you're unattracted to them. And I think that sometimes you get to a point where they do something unattractive enough, and that's really a game changer. And unattractive is through behavior sometimes. Michael Andrew says, that's what it is most of the time. Max says it best, entanglement. Embrace the hurt, develop and flourish, trust yourself and what you expect from yourself and your love life. Well, that's poetic. Thanks, Michael. I appreciate it. Gaslighting is an act of manipulation when someone says things that make someone question their own reality thoughts. When someone tries to make you believe in a different reality, makes you think you're wrong. Well, you're too smart for that, MC. I know that already, right? It's like one of the best things I ever read before about when someone really upsets you. And I've said it before, I think even to MC, is when something that you identify with is attacked. That's when you get pissed. Right? That's when you get really pissed. Someone close to you says something that you feel is not true, but you're offended that they would say that. Like, you'd say that to me? Really? And if I called you a chair, or if I called you a piece of wood, or I said, MC, you're a tree, you'd be like, what? What are you, nuts? Because it's not true. Why can't we apply that to statements that people say that you don't believe are true? I mean, one of the great things to do when someone gets really upset with you or says something bizarre, well, that's up to you what you want to think. It totally throws them off. Try it sometimes. Wow, really? Well, that's up to you if you want to think that. Someone starts accusing you of some bullshit. Really? Well, I guess that's up to you if you want to believe that. It's like mental martial arts. You just, you don't even engage. Have you coached anyone that initially accepted advice but then went back to their previous ways and repeated their mistakes, then made excuses why they did? Yeah. But that's okay. I don't get frustrated by that. And they know when they talk to me that they've repeated their mistakes. And it's my job to read the individual on what sort of communication is going to work best for them. I don't use one size. I have to know the individual. But I don't bat them over the heads with, yeah, I told you so. Oh, that was stupid. You know what I say usually? It's okay. You did the same thing again. At some point, you're going to get sick of it, right? An asshole. All right, folks. I'm going to call it curtains. Have a good evening. Have a good day. Thanks for joining.